Hi everyone, today we're going to take a look at the Datacolor Spyder Cube. Now this is a device to help you in your raw processing with white balance and exposure issues. And honestly, when I first saw this device, I didn't quite understand how this would be any better than just using a gray card or white card like you see a lot of professionals do. And when I saw some reviews online, they were generally working in a studio with product photography or portraits, and they had a color calibrated workflow because they're all professionals. But I wanted to see how this device could be used, say, by the average person or enthusiast in their photo walks and just general photography. So I took this thing out with me on a few photo walks and took a few pictures and did some editing with it. And I gotta say, it works really well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the closer look at this device. But before we do that, full disclosure, Datacolor did send this device out to me for free in exchange for a review. But I'll give you my honest opinion and thoughts as always when I do any product reviews. So let's get started. All right, so here's the Spyder Cube, and it's basically just a plastic cube, but it's broken down into different parts. We have an 18% gray here, we have white here, and then down here we have black, and then that little what they call a black trap is just a hole in the cube to capture the darkest shadow area. And then up here we have a chrome ball for our speculars. As you can see, we have some speculars there now. And then it comes with the lanyard so you can kind of carry this around your neck. Also, there is a 1/4-20 screw on the bottom so you can mount this onto, say, a selfie stick or tripod, whatever you want. But I recommend a selfie stick, and I'll explain why. All right, now this is how I went around on my photo walks. I just hung it around my neck with the lanyard, and then when I was ready to take a picture with it, I would just point this at the camera, face forward with the hole facing the camera like it is now, and then I would take a picture of this in the frame, and then I would take another picture with it out of the frame. And then I would use the picture that had this in the frame for raw processing to correct for white balance and exposure. So let's go ahead and take a look at a couple images that I did like that. So let's start with this image here. This is the Canon M50 with a kit lens, and I had everything on auto white balance, auto exposure, etc. And you can see that the camera, just the image, the exposure is too dark and the white balance is a little bit too cool. But this is easily corrected with the Spyder Cube. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to punch in the Spyder Cube here. And the first thing I like to do when I'm working with a Spyder Cube is set the white balance. So if I look at it closely, I can see that there's a little dapple of light hitting it here from the sun. And then over here on the right side is the shadow area, which is what my face is mostly in. It's all in the shadow area. So that's where I'm going to set my white balance. I'm going to click here with my white balance eyedropper tool. And now I have the correct white balance for my face. Now let's work with the exposure. And I'm going to go ahead and click the highlight and shadow indicators. And you can see, it'll change colors wherever there's highlight and shadows clipping. So let me go ahead and raise the exposure, what I think is about right. And I can raise this as much as I want, but I just have to be conscious of the white blocks here on the Spyder Cube that they don't clip. That's the main thing I'm looking at. I don't really care about what's going on back here. But if I go too high, for example, you can see that the Spyder Cube is starting to clip here, which is what I don't want. So I'm going to back this off until I feel like it's about right. And that looks about right. Now I'm going to work with the speculars here. And I can do that with the highlight slider. I'm just going to pull that down, get a little more. And that looks pretty good. And then the last thing I'll do is work with the shadow area or the black point. And some people, they like to slide their black slider all the way down until that's completely filled in. But you have to remember that since I'm hand holding this, my fingers are probably reflecting a little bit of light inside here. So I usually like to make this black point only about 50% filled in terms of clipping indicators. So that looks about right to me. And then the last thing I might do is just add a little bit of shadow detail like so. And then pull in the black point back just a little bit. There, that looks pretty good. So basically I'm done. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy these settings here with my keyboard, then go to the next image and paste them here. Let me turn off my indicators again. Maybe a little bit of a crop, like so. Simple rule of thirds. And let's do a before and after. I think that looks pretty good. Here's the before. Here's the after. Before and after. All right, now let's try a scene that's a little more complicated. This one here was taken in the morning golden hour, and same Canon M50 with kit lens and auto settings. The only difference is I dialed in a -1 exposure comp because I didn't want to clip any of the highlights. Unlike in the previous scene, I didn't care, but this scene, I was very conscious because I didn't want to clip the highlights in the water here or in the sky over here. So let's see how we can use the Spyder Cube to correct this and balance all of this out. And of course, the first thing I like to do is go for the white balance. And you can see that there's a shiny area over here where warm light is hitting it, but then there's also the shadow area. So I have a choice here. Let me go ahead and start with the sunny side. And you can see that it cooled off the image quite a bit. But now the white balance is correct here for the rocks here and the water down here and the rocks up here. But that's not what it actually looked like. Like I said, this was golden hour. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the shadow area. And now that's better, I think. It's much warmer and much more like it was that morning. However, this is a little bit too warm. It almost looks like a 1970s film or something, right? So what I'm going to do is just kind of split the difference between the two. So right now my white balance is at 8440, so we'll just say 8400. And if we click on the warm side here, you can see my white balance went to 4897. So we'll say 4900. So from 49 to 84 is a difference of 3500. If we split that in half, we get 1750. So all I have to do is add 1750 to the 4900, which would be 6600. All right, so I think that looks a lot better. It's not so warm that it looks like an old film shot, but it's not cool either, right? It's just about right by splitting the difference between the two. Now let's work with the exposure. I'm going to turn on my highlight and shadow clipping indicators. You can see that the black trap has already caught some blacks here. It started clipping, which is fine. But I dialed in a -1 EV. So let's go ahead and put that exposure back into the shot. I'll just type in +1 here, like so. Now the scene is about the right brightness. And I'm going to go ahead and pull my blacks in. So that's not completely clipped, but mostly, like 50 to 80% in here. And then I just need to catch my highlights. And that looks about right. Yeah, perfect. And that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and copy these settings and paste them to the next image. So here's the same image without the Spyder Cube. Pasted. And we're good. So let's do a quick before and after. Here's the before. Here's the after. And of course I can continue editing if I want to, but this looks pretty good as is. Now this image here is actually from one of my real photo shoots because I wanted to see if the Spyder Cube could help me in my professional work. And this is not an uncommon problem where I'm using flash to sort of adjust for the white balance and get the colors correct, but nothing in the room is white. And even the ceiling is sort of this off-white. It's painted the same color as the walls. So normally what I could do is I could pick something off the baseboard, or typically I'll use something off the window. But even the window framing and the baseboards and everything is off-white. The outlets are this brownish tan color. So there was nothing in the room for me to fix the white balance. But I put the Spyder Cube down here on the bottom of the floor, and all I have to do now is just pick this area right here, and now the white balance is corrected for the entire room. And then from here, all I have to do is crop in, paste. I'll just do that real quick, like so, and brush out the Spyder Cube, like so, and we're done. So here's the before, and here's the after. Now for that last shot, I didn't have to worry about exposure so much because I was using flash and I'd already adjusted exposure that way. But also the Spyder Cube was actually laying on its side, so the black trap was not facing down for me to properly use it. So the next time I go out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount it onto a selfie stick like this so I can properly place the cube facing the camera with the black trap facing down. The other problem with laying it on the floor like that is that the carpet itself is going to reflect a little bit of color onto the gray area. So I'm not getting as an accurate white balance as I could have had I had mounted the Spyder Cube onto a selfie stick like this. So next time, definitely taking this with me with the Spyder Cube. So with all that done, what do I really think about the Spyder Cube? And I can honestly say I like it a lot more than I did from when I first got it. Because initially I was like, how's this going to be any better than just using a gray card? And, we can already kind of highlight and shadow clip, the entire image anyway. Why would I base it off of a device like this? And the answer is consistency, right? When you have a consistent reference to make these kinds of adjustments, you can get consistent results from shot to shot to shot, no matter what kind of scene or lighting you run into. Especially because of the way this is shaped, being able to get the white balance off the shadow area or off the sunny area can make a difference. And then you can split the difference if you want to. And then having a consistent black point, shadow point, midtone, and specular is also very, very handy. Again, it's about consistency. So those are my thoughts on the Datacolor Spyder Cube. If you're interested in this device, I'll have my affiliate links down below. It helps support the channel, or you can buy me a coffee. But if you like these kind of videos, consider subscribing to the channel, hit the like button. But either way, thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.